Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam and this is where I talk about all things sewing. Today is day 80 of 100 days of sewing, who would have thought it? And it's another Frugal Friday, hey! Today I'm just going to be looking at the final of the Great British Sewing Bee, look at some of the patterns that they might have used and see if I can find some free ones for you. So if that's the sort of thing you like, keep watching. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far, and thank you to everyone who has donated to my coffee account as well. It really is truly appreciated, thank you. And usually I will be filming on a Friday with the Frugal Fridays. Back to normal next week when I'm just looking at patterns, discounts, challenges, any competitions that I've found. But today they will be related to the Great British Sewing Bee, and then at the end I will be looking at discounts and challenges and what have you. So this was the finals week of the Great British Sewing Bee, so really sad to see the last three contestants. We had Serena, who is the youngest, and Raph, who is probably the least experienced, and Rebecca. I think Rebecca's been sewing since she was about 4. I think they're all sort of under 30, but Serena is only 21. So really young finalists this year, and any of them could have won it. They were all more than capable of winning it. So just going to look at the different rounds and let's see if we can find some free patterns for you. So the pattern challenge was to make a child's bridesmaid's dress, and that was fitted bodice, puff sleeves, button down the back, and they wanted a bound buttonhole. It had a waistband, big sash on it, and it was fully lined as well. So the right choice of fabric was quite crucial in this one, and they were looking for a really extremely good finish with the judges this time. You saw Raph and Serena head for the silk taffeta, and they both said that they'd never worked with silk before, so a little bit risky. And Rebecca then went for the Duchess satin, which she had used before. None of them had done a bound buttonhole before. It was a new technique to all of them, and they were particularly sort of fiddly because it's on such a small scale. Did see Patrick do a little bit of a demonstration on how to do one, but he did it on a larger scale, and he did say how difficult it would be to do on such a small scale. So yeah, none of them, I think they all struggled on the bound buttonhole, and not surprising really, they're not easy to do, they're not something that I'd want to learn to do under pressure like that. So yeah, Raph went for a dark purple silk and Serena went for a dark blue silk, and both of them decided to do their lining in like a contrast. Now the problem with that is obviously the lining and the silk are going to act differently. So if you're going for like something a little bit more stable in the lining and the silk moves about a bit, then you can run into trouble a little bit with that. Rebecca sensibly chose to self-line hers. Neither Raph or Serena looked ahead at the instructions, and both of them actually inserted the lining of the skirt incorrectly, which meant that really they should have unpicked. Now Serena did unpick hers, but Raph decided not to. So yeah, I think that was probably Raph's downfall, not unpicking that lining really. Rebecca seemed to be sailing through this challenge. She did struggle a little bit with the bound buttonhole, but right at the end you just saw that her sash was a little bit untidy. I mean, we're talking about marginal differences here, so her sash just didn't look quite so tidy, and Serena, she seemed to be really struggling to finish at the end because she had to unpick her lining. Seemed to be really rushing at the end, and it did look like she wasn't going to finish, but she did finish and she came first. Rebecca came second and Raph came third in this challenge. Yeah, that way around. I think the polyester in the Duchess satin went against Rebecca in the end because it wouldn't press quite as well. So although the silk was difficult to work with and frayed quite a bit, the Duchess satin just wasn't pressing very well. So more stable, easier to work with, but you could see at the end that the silk behaved better. Not that I'd want to be using silk for a child's bridesmaid dress, but that's just me. So yeah, I think if Rebecca's sash had been a little bit neater, she could perhaps have won that challenge, but Serena won that one. So Minerva, as usual, sent me an email with all their pattern suggestions and fabric suggestions. The pattern that they suggested for this was the McCall's 7648. It has got the fitted bodice, it hasn't got a waistband, but it has got the sash and the little sleeves, and you can actually make it sleeveless as well. So yeah, pretty similar, lots of options with it, and if you want to pay for a pattern, that's probably a good option for you. It goes from ages 3 to 14, does that one. But if you want some free patterns, I've got a few free patterns for you as well. So I could do a whole episode on children's dress patterns, free dress patterns. There's so many in, so I've had to rein myself in. I've just got 3 for you today, just the ones that say Bridesmaid to me, really. So I'll do the one that looks most like the one that was on the show first, and that's the Fiesta dress by Melly Sews. I think this was pretty close. It's got quite a simple bodice, it's got the puff sleeves, not as fitted as the one that was on the show, and it doesn't have the waistband or the sash, a gathered skirt, and it does have buttons down the back, does this one. Now it doesn't have the bound buttons, and if you want to do bound buttonholes you can do, but yeah, it's got buttons down the back. The only thing against this one is that it's one size, it's a free pattern. She does have other sizes in her paid for options, which goes from newborn up to age 10. That's $7.95, which works out at £5.70. But the free one is for a 3-year-old. That's just on her website. You need to join her newsletter in order to get any of her free patterns, and I will leave a link to that below. Everything that I'm talking about I will leave, as always, a link below, and I will leave the code for you as well. She has blank slate patterns, so that's the other arm of her. When you pay for her patterns, you go on to blank slate patterns, but it's the same person. Next up is one that was in Love Sewing magazine, issue 21, and you can still get it online. You can still download the pattern online without the instructions, but through a company called Craft World you can get the instructions as well. It does have just like a ribbon around the waist, so this one is actually sleeveless. It's called the Flow dress, and it's a fully lined bodice, and the skirt part of it is just a rectangle. So a bit more options on the size in there for you. So you've got ages 1 to 6 for that one. But like I say, it's sleeveless. And again, you can swap that ribbon out for a sash. A sash is easy enough to do. But this one's got a zip down the back, so it's probably a little bit easier to get on and off. Buttons are a bit fiddly on children, I find. And then last but not least is the Liberty dress, and this again is from the Love Sewing magazine, and this has got instructions. It's another one that uses a rectangle for the skirt portion of it. It's just a big gathered rectangle, but this has got sleeves using Liberty fabric. That's why it's called a Liberty dress. But as with all 3 of these, the fabric choice will make a difference to how it looks. So use a cotton and it's probably more practical, it'll go in the washing machine, but use a nice sort of silk satin or something like that, and then you've got a bridesmaid's dress. And because of rectangles, you can make them as long as you want. That's the beauty of them, really. If you're wanting a full length one, you can just extend that rectangle. That's your 3 free options. I've got a paid for one that I'll tell you about at the end in the discounts one, because that's only $1. But if you stay to the end, and I'll tell you about that one. So on to the transformation round, and as usual they had 90 minutes to transform household objects into something that you would go to a festival in. So it was like cushions and curtains and those things that you put on your door to stop flies coming in and that sort of thing. Lots of sparkly, jangly things. So I'm just very briefly going to touch on this one. They did say that they were looking for something fun, fantastical and flamboyant. And I did wonder at the time whether they actually tell the contestants this or whether it's just something that they tell the viewers. Because Rebecca's was very chic and understated. It was still what somebody might wear to a festival, but it wasn't flamboyant. And I just wonder if that's something that they say to the camera and not to the contestants. So very briefly, Serena chose some curtains that she fashioned into a pair of trousers, open at the sides, and then she attached like a halter neck top which had been made out of sequins, the sequins that you can brush either way, and then did lots of things with cording. Looked very dangerous to me. Then down the sides she had one of these curtainy things down the sides, so very sort of bright and flamboyant, but a bit drafty. Raph went for it completely. He did a top, he did some cycling shorts, he did a little bag made out of a crocheted cushion. He used some of that crocheted cushion in his top, and then he did a headpiece as well, which Patrick said he found very fetching and tried on. So that's a clue as to who won. And like I say, Rebecca's was just very understated. It was completely wearable. if you were very, very petite, it was completely wearable. But yeah, it wasn't loud and flamboyant. So yeah, Raph won that one, Serena came second, and Rebecca came third on that one, just because it was so understated. If you watched it, you'd have seen her face when she came out and saw everybody else's, and she just said, I think I should have really gone a bit more flamboyant or something. So the finals was the made to measure round, where they have 5.5 hours to create something for the red carpet. The judges were looking for something that they said would, magical. Red carpet wear is, usually a designer's chance to shine and to sort of create something completely original and flamboyant and out there sort of thing. Along with it being red carpet, the outfits had to be off the shoulder, so essentially self-supporting, which is why we brought Mandy the mannequin here. The only example that I've got of anything that's off the shoulder. So off the shoulder, self-supporting, so you're thinking like corsetry or something to keep the dress up. So obviously Raph was in his element with this one and immediately thought of Kate Bush, who else? And yeah, he had a little story behind it. He always had a little story behind everything, and he sort of said, right, I'm thinking of Kathy looking through the curtains, looking for Heathcliff. So he created a dress that was the sweetheart neckline. The skirt was quite fitted, had pleating in the waistline, and then he draped from the mannequin. So the draping was sort of quite dramatic, and then at the back he had eyelets that more or less helped to fit the dress, which Esme actually pointed out was quite a clever way of doing it, because obviously he did a certain amount of fitting, and then you could just draw it in at the back, and then he added bows at the side as well. For me, it was a bow too far, it was just too much going on, and unfortunately he didn't manage to get his finished. He did it all in sort of red taffeta, and it wasn't hemmed at the end. While the judges said it was a clever and original design, and it worked well with the fabric, I think him not having it hemmed at the end put him out of being in contention for winning. He was overly ambitious, and I think that's probably what defined Raph, in that, he always goes for it. He does no holds barred, he just goes for it, and fair dues to him, he did a fantastic job. Had he hemmed his, I reckon he probably would have won. Had all these wonderful layers of tulle and lame, really over the top, and yeah, it had the impact and drama, but had a bit of a twist to it, a bit of a goth feel to it. So he definitely used a pattern, but I couldn't actually see the pattern. Butterick B6131 would be a good starting point. It's very similar in the bodice, and then it does show you on that pattern different variations of changing it. So you would just start with a very basic bodice. So 3 patterns, the closest I could find was on the Mood website, and that was the hydrangea dress. And they've done something very similar, in that they've started with a very simple sort of fitted bodice and then made tulle sort of accompaniments for it. So in this case it's like an over shirt and an over skirt, and it just goes to show you can more or less do what you like with a simple bodice if you're into that sort of thing, into draping. And then Mood have also got a corset that's got all the eyelets and the gathering at the back. So again, you could use that as a basis. You could add a dramatic skirt to that. They've got a full circle skirt so that you could add to that. So lots of options for that, but nothing that's going to in any way replicate what he's got. Number one, I couldn't find the actual pattern that he used, and number two, that's it's so original and so novel, and I'm pretty sure that it just used a pattern as a basis and then draped onto it. So for the Mood ones, they have a size range of 32.5-inch bust up to a 58.5-inch bust. So if you're wanting to do something like that, then that's their size range. As always, the patterns are only available as an A4, so there is no copy shop printing with Mood patterns. So yeah, it was interesting that they had this corset pattern, because Mood, their instructions are in the form of a blog post. While there's enough information there, it is quite rudimentary, but they seem to go into quite a lot more depth on this corsetry one, and they've actually got supporting videos as well. So if you fancy having a go at making a corset, I think that would be a good one. And also a website that I've mentioned before, The Shapes of Fabric, they have got one to draft your own. So you would take your own measurements and do a fitted bodice, and you can do different necklines. So you can do the sweetheart neckline, and again just add whatever skirt and any overlays that you wanted. And they've got a free fitting guide as well. If you sign up to their website, there's a free fitting guide there. So lots of useful information on that website, well worth a look. And as always, I'll leave a link below. So on to Rebecca, and she very cleverly used a scuba. Now, a few people said, oh, it's a bit cheating using a scuba fabric, because I don't think she probably put a zip in it either. So the advantage of the scuba is that for a fitted dress you can get it very fitted, straight over the head, no zips to insert, and she probably didn't have to hem it neither. She did use a pattern on this one, and I'll just describe it. It's got the big over the shoulder flounce like this on it. It was like a solid piece, very fitted through the bodice, full length with a split up the side and a flounce down one side. And then at the back there was a really big deep godey in it. So not particularly easy, because sewing with scuba isn't easy, and to put that flounce and that godey in, that's not easy either. She did actually add that flounce, that isn't part of the pattern. So she did use a bit of creativity and imagination in this one. But to all intents and purposes, mostly a pattern that she picked up, and that was, you actually saw this one, that was McCall's M7683. Lots of different variations for this one, but I think she probably used the view 3 for the bodice and then view 6 for the skirt. And yeah, Esme's claimed that it had a very sexy fit around the backside. It fitted really perfectly, it fitted a model really beautifully, but yeah, added advantage of using a stretch. For me, that one was the most wearable, and probably the one that if I ever had a red carpet event to go to, I would wear. And I really do hope that when she gets everything back, that a friend does get to wear it to something really special, because she looked beautiful in it. And you know, she said she felt really special in it as well, which it shone through. So once again, Serena took her inspiration from her muse Villanelle from Killing Eve, and they did show the picture of sat in the big flouncy pink thing. I think it's the cover picture of the second series. She took inspiration from it, but she didn't copy it at all, because the one that is on the picture, not only is it not got the off the shoulder, it's pink. And Serena went for acid yellow. Not my colour at all. Sorry, Ruan. So yeah, she went for a corseted strapless dress, which had layers and layers of tulle gathered into the bodice and then over the shoulder. So really quite dramatic, especially in that colour. And she did say at one point she had 16 metres of tulle together, that is a lot. To all intents and purposes, looked very simple, and but a lot going on underneath with all the corsetry. Did look at one point like she wasn't going to get it over her model's head, which was a little bit of a heart-stopping moment. She used her brother's girlfriend, who was only 19 and was really, really tall, and she really struggled to get it over her head. And then she really needed Rebecca to help her to zip it up, so it did look like it wasn't going to fit. But it did. So Esme's remarks on it was that she wished that the skirt had got more fullness to reflect the shoulder flounce. And a few people on social media said that, you know, it should have been full length. But she was taking inspiration from the Killing Eve, and that's what she went for. So I think the length of it was absolutely fine, and it would look stunning down a red carpet, and that's what they were supposed to be doing. So no idea of what pattern she used here. I never saw a glimpse of it. I've not been able to find anything like it. And I think it got Kate at the Foldline flummoxed as well, so she's not been able to find it either, so I feel a little bit better about that. But yeah, back to mood for free patterns that sort of give a nod to it, shall I say. And first off is the Sagittaria dress. So this is a full length dress with a flounce across it, and it made me laugh in the description of how they described it. And I'm going to read it out. It says, it's ideal for attending a music festival or checking out a street fair, or pop on a large leather belt and a crossbody bag for a great weekend look. How awesome would this dress be for a casual private spring wedding? I mean, that's a wedding dress. private spring wedding. I'd want to be the bride wearing this. It's all lace. I don't know what weddings they're going to, but anyway. Yeah, that's the closest I could find. It was, you know, it is a really special dress, is that one. So very similar to this over the shoulders and then full length. So kind of a cross between Serena's and Rebecca's in a way, in that it's got that flounce and but it's full length like Rebecca's. Usual size range for a mood, 32.5 inch bust to 58.5 inch bust. Pretty sure this doesn't have any boning in, so no idea how it's going to keep up, apart from that it's got elastic around the top, although it's probably not going to be too heavy in that it's not got all that fabric dragging it down. So yeah, you can make this as long as you like, put a split up the side. You've got Rebecca's, add a flounce, you've got Rebecca's even more, or you could just swap out a full circle skirt, just use the bodice part, swap out a full circle skirt, cut it down to the knee, add lots of layers, and then you've got Serena's. But you'd have to do it in yellow tulle. Also, if you check out the elderberry dress, that's another mood pattern, and I think that would be sort of a downplay of the, not quite so dramatic, but if you were just going to a nice casual do, a graduation or something like that, that's got a lace overlay. It's got the sweetheart neckline. It does have straps, does that one, but you could probably omit those. So yeah, a nice generic interpretation of both of those. Or the Rodanthe, that has got the full skirt of Serena's, and it's got the sweetheart neckline. Again, I don't think it's got the corsetry. I think it's holding itself up. But interestingly, this has got an overbody, like a shirt that goes over the top, and that's got the eyelets in the back. So that kind of reflects Raph's. So all sort of nice sort of dresses if you want it to be an adult bridesmaid, or if you've got a red carpet event, who knows. You might be watching and wondering what you can make for your red carpet event. So yeah, a couple options there for you, or a couple of options for less formal variations of Serena's, and that would be something similar to this one. And these are both self-drafted ones. One's by Hand London, and she is just taking your own measurements. So that's got the full flounce over the shoulder, maxi length, and then it's got a flounce at the bottom, a little tier at the bottom. It's got a tie belt to bring it in at the waist. So there's that one, and that takes about 4 yards of fabric, and she's suggesting like a viscose for that one. Or there's one that Sharon Sews. Sharon Sews is on YouTube. She joined us in with the Frugal Frocks, and I think she mentioned this one when she was doing the Frugal Frocks as well. Very, very similar to the By Hand London one, except it's got a channel for the waist. So if you prefer to have an elasticated waist rather than having a loose belt, because it can be a bit annoying. But I think with the belted one, well, both of them really, the beauty of that is you've got a bit of leeway for weight fluctuations, so they will last you through whatever weight you are, either pregnancy or weight gain or weight loss, whatever. So this one I made, I think this is an old Prima pattern, but I have drafted one very similar as well. So you've just got, and it is a knit is this one, just got like a room for your arms there, and then it's just elasticated, just a flounce around the top. And this is just knee length as well. But it just goes to show that these sort of dresses, you can just take your own measurements, make them as long as you want, make these flounces as deep as you want, make the bottom tier as deep as you want, make it midi, make it maxi. World's your oyster really with those. So instead of the viscose, Sharon Sews actually recommends using a lightweight gauze for hers. So again, it just shows you can use different fabrics. I've used viscose jersey for this one, very lightweight, floaty. Perfect for summer. Drapier fabrics will be, nice and flouncy and wafty. The cotton gauze will be nice and cool for summer. So just to sum up, everybody was really, really good in the final. It's just such small margins, really. It must have been really difficult for the judges to pick a winner. I think Rebecca probably made the most progression throughout it all, in that she kept pushing herself. Although Serena did say that she kept pushing herself as well. But I think had Rebecca just gone for it in the final and just maybe used a fabric with sequins in, or something a little bit more out there on a transformation round, she might just have, despite being the underdog, might have just have won that one. Raph consistently delivered something a little bit more visual, and he was able to take a pattern and make it his own. Always had a story behind his designs. I really loved that about Raph. And, you know, Serena was just consistently the steady, good sewer. And long and short of it is, it was to find Britain's best amateur sewer, and I think the right person won in the end. And I'm just going to say what she said at the end, because it did actually seriously bring a tear to my eye. She said it built her confidence in sewing, and she hoped that she would encourage other young people to take up sewing, because after all it is fabric and a bit of string. And I thought, yeah, I hope it does. I hope it gets young people into sewing. And what Esme said about her is that it's a rare sewer that can make something that looks like it's been untouched by human hands, and that's what Serena was capable of doing. I did have a little bit of a cry. I do get emotional at these things, and I'm going to be a bit bereft of what to watch on a Wednesday evening now, but maybe I can get some more sewing done. So that's the sewing bee over. And yeah, on to discounts and challenges and giveaways now. So first of the discounts, since I was just talking about By Hand London, I'm just going to quickly mention a new pattern that they've got out and a discount that they've got out over the weekend for the launch, and that is the Sandeep skirt and dress. So very flouncy, very much lots of flounces. It's got raglan sleeves, big flouncy sleeves, square face neckline, fitted bodice, and then two sort of asymmetric circle skirts. Really unusual, never seen anything quite like it. This is in their extended size range, so 2 cup sizes. The B cup goes from 33-inch to 54-inch hip, and the D cup, which seems a bit odd that I'm talking cups and hips, but that's how they've done it, from a 42-inch hip up to a 67.75-inch hip. And that discount goes until Tuesday the 22nd, so it's 20% off for the launch. Very swirly, lovely for maybe weddings or any kind of event. And it's been named after Sandeep, who is the owner of Sister Mintaka. So that's a fabric shop down in the Midlands somewhere. So you've got a dress and a skirt option on that one. Simple Sew have got 40% off all their patterns with the code SB40. It doesn't say how long this offer is going on for, but I only got the email today, so it should be at least the weekend. And their patterns are only about £5 or £6 anyway. I noticed that when I click through that if you ordered over £20 worth of patterns, you get a free thread count pattern thrown in. I think you get a choice of 3 patterns. All 3 patterns have got multiple options on it, and UK shipping for a limited time as well, so it seems like a really good deal, does that one. There's 67 patterns on the Simple Sew website, so too many for me to touch on, but 2 that I've made that I can think of off the top of my head are the trench coat. Really good pattern. It's collarless trench coat and no fastenings, so a good introduction to making a coat, and it's ideal for this time of year because it's not too heavy. And then there is the Shannon collection, which is a t-shirt which can be made into a dress, and then trousers that can be made into shorts. The shorts are brilliant. I've worn those loads and loads and loads, made them several times, different fabrics, and I've made the t-shirt dress, which I wear all the time as well, and the t-shirts. I've not made the trousers. So yeah, I can highly recommend those particular patterns. So well worth a look with 40% off. Simplicity Patterns have also got 50% off through various websites. So Minerva have been advertising them, Weaver D have been advertising them, and Sew Direct have been advertising them. It's only Weaver D that I can see where there's an end date of it, and that's the 27th of June. So Simplicity Patterns, again, massive range of patterns there, well worth a look. So Waves and Wild, I'll keep mentioning Waves and Wild because they keep sending me an email to say that they've got various patterns on at $3 which is about £1.50. They design for adults, but it's mainly children, and at the moment they've got the I Can Zip hoodie, which is a hoodie with a zip in it. This has got raglan sleeves, and it's available from newborn up to age 12, so good size range. Obviously it's unisex, and I think it's aimed at somebody who is new to putting a zip in on stretch fabric. That's available as copy shop or print at home. And then Winter Wear Designs has got the classic shell top for $3. As always, Winter Wear has lots of options. So this has got about 4 sleeve options, various hem options. I think you can do it as a tunic and a top. You can put a little button at the back of it if you like, or it's just straight over your head. Particularly liked the petal sleeve option, and you can either face the neckline or use a bias binding. So the size range for that is 28-inch to 57-inch bust, and the maximum hip on that is 60 inches. Good versatile pattern for $3, that one. It's well worth a look. So finally, Ellie and Mac have got their usual Wacky Wednesday discounts, and that's patterns for $1. And this is where the party dress comes in. So they have got this gorgeous little girl's party dress, which has got like a peasant style top and then gathered skirt. The age range on this is amazing. It's 3 months to age 16 years. You can either have it as a top or a full length dress. Lots of options. You can either put the ruffles down the front, or you can make it as fancy as you like. And it's another one where whatever fabric you make makes it a fancy dress. It is for wovens, it's not a knit. And the elastic around the top means you don't have to put any patternings in it. So more of a peasant style in that you could probably pull it over your shoulders like this, but you can have it just as a round neck as well. And they've also got the vacation romper for $1, which I thought was really fun. They've got the child's and the adults of this one, and this is in a knit. And it's just a really lovely, loose, like a baby romper. Brilliant if you're going to a festival or anything like that, or holidays, obviously. It does look like a fun little number, does that one. So the child's one goes from age 12 months up to 14. And yeah, it is designed for knits, and they've got the adult one as well. So finally, just a few little challenges that I've found over on Instagram, and one is by Yvette at Blossom Sandwich, and also Hey So Georgia, and that is running throughout June, July and August, and that is So 70s. So you can do anything 70s inspired, tag them in with the hashtag So70s, and anything 70s inspired. That could be your big sleeves, your flounces like these, I would imagine would be fine, big collars, flares if you want to go back to flares, maxi dresses. So if you did the by hand maxi dress or the Sharon Sews maxi dress, I reckon that would count. Or using sort of bold 70s prints or a 1970s pattern. So the pattern that I showed when I was reviewing the Movies Week of the Great British Sewing Bee, I showed a 1970s pattern there. I've got some ideas on that video as well for 1970s patterns or 1970s style patterns. So have a look at that video and you might get some ideas for free patterns for that. So they're having a monthly draw for this one. So there's prizes each month, which is I think is pretty good. It keeps it going throughout the summer. The ones that I've spotted are a £25 voucher for Pigeon Wishes and a £25 voucher for the Rag Shop. Those are the June prizes that I've seen so far. There might be others, I'm not sure. But yeah, well worth tagging them in if you fancy getting involved. And the Rag Shop one, due to the restrictions at the moment, that is UK only, but they did say that there will be other prizes that are going to be international. And then we've got the last few days of the Sew Together for Summer challenge. So that finishes on Monday the 21st, and that is to sew a sundress, a sleeveless sundress. The tags to use for that are hashtag Sew21entry. You can hashtag Sew Together for Summer for just general ideas, but the entries need Sew21entry on them. But in conjunction with that, there are quite a few discounts still going on until the 21st of June. So if you're still looking for ideas, there is 20% off the Georgia and the Charlie dresses from By Hand London, and that is Sew Together FS 2021. That's the code that you need for that one. Megan Nilsson's still got 20% off her Eucalypt dress, and that's just a sleeveless one. Code for that is Sew Together Eucalypt. And then the Foldline have got 10% off all their dress patterns. Just use the code Sew Together for Summer. So all those discounts are still going until the 21st of June. So finally, I've mentioned Sew Joey, sew a t-shirt for summer a few times, but my next video is going to be looking at any free t-shirt patterns that I've found. So I've sewn up quite a few t-shirt patterns over the years, and I thought I'd just look at some of the ones that I found, look at the, you know, the pros and cons and the size ranges and things like that, and tell you any hints and tips that I've got for making those. So again, she's got lots of prizes. Sew Together for Summer, they've got lots of prizes as well. So my next video will be out on Sunday, and I'll be looking at free t-shirt patterns for those. And just to show it's worth entering any giveaways that you get tagged into, I've just recently found out that I've won 2 meters of fabric from Linton Tweeds, and that was somebody who very kindly tagged me in. And what I didn't know when I was entering is that not only did I win 2 meters, but the person that I tagged in, which was my friend Jane, she also won 2 meters as well. So it just goes to show that it is worth actually entering these. And as I always say, feel free to tag me in. I'm not doing it so that I get entered into more, but just so that I can tell people about it. Do try and sort of repost it on my Instagram feed, and I'm Frugalisama over on Instagram, so if you want to tag me in into anything, if you've not got any friends on Instagram that you feel that you can tag in. I was in exactly the same position when I first joined Instagram, so I'm more than happy for people to tag me in. Never know, you might have a touch of magic and win as well. So that's it from me today. Hopefully I will get this up on Friday this week, because I'm recording on Thursday, so if I can get all this edited, I'll have this up on Friday for you this week. So once again, apologies for not getting the video out last Friday. I did all the research and then just ran out of time. Sun was shining, garden needed doing, socialising needed doing, and you know, I just ran out of time. So I'm back on it now. I've got a May Makes video out, and I've also got my summer sewing plans video out as well. So if you want to take a look at any of those, we'll leave a link to those at the end as well. So as always, everything that I've talked about today will be linked down below. Any codes that you need and anything like that. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you're going to a red carpet event and thinking of making any of these, leave me a comment below, let me know. And I will speak to you later. Thank you for watching. Bye.